My name is Nassime Saps.
Okay, so you want to understand the Mandela Effect. So this is exactly what the Mandela Effect is. And this is literally exactly what's happening in real reality. This is like the objective, factual truth. And this isn't theory or anything like that. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of theories on YouTube and on the internet. And they don't know what the frick they're talking about because they haven't been in it like I've been in it. They haven't looked at the devil face to face like how I've looked at the devil and had the devil talk to me. Now, going to the Mandela Effect. Okay, so let's speed up a little bit and let's jump a little bit later in time. So by this time, Adam and Eve were on the earth. Okay, everything was all good. Okay, but what happened? What happened? The sin happened. You know, people argue about what the sin was. For what I'm telling you, it's irrelevant what the sin was. It was just something really bad. Okay, Adam and Eve did something really bad. Okay, so what happened was, okay, when Adam and Eve sinned, whatever it was, it doesn't matter, but it was bad, and God didn't like it. It was actually terrible. So when Adam and Eve sinned, and the devil tricked Adam and Eve into sinning, what happened was, that's the original, quote unquote, Mandela Effect. That's the original reality. That's the original reality shift. Okay, but what does it actually mean? When God made heaven and God made earth, okay, meaning the earthly realm, right, and the heavenly realm, right? That was it. It was connected to each other. Heaven and earth were directly connected to each other as one reality. Okay? As one dimension. There was only one dimension, the dimension of heaven and earth. Okay? That's it. It was just one thing together, connected. Okay? But after the sin, God disconnected earth from heaven. Okay? And God quarantined earth. Okay? Meaning the earthly reality, which is Earth and all the planets in the universe, right? In the black of space. Okay? He quarantined it. Okay? What happened was the sin, okay? The sin of Adam and Eve fractured reality, okay? And fractured the invisible wave energy of the reality into separate pieces. So now you have alternate dimension. Okay, so this is where the first alternate dimension came from. The first alternate dimension came from when Adam and Eve sinned. God had to quarantine the earthly realm of the universe and all the planets along with the earth, quarantine it away from heaven, okay? And have all of the fallen angels also quarantined inside, okay? As well. You know, I don't believe the book of Job that says that God allowed the devil to go into heaven to talk to God. Like, I don't believe that. I believe that story was not literal. Okay, I believe that was a figurative thing. I don't believe that actually happened, in my opinion. Okay, that's just my opinion. People will argue with me about that. That's fine, but that's what I think. Okay, so from the sin, okay, the sin is the thing. Okay, what is causing all these alternate dimensions to be created? Okay, what is causing it? What's causing it is the sin is causing it. What is sin? Sin, okay, is a anti-life, destructive, anti-God act. Okay, it goes against God's original vision and will for his creation that he made to be existing. That's what sin is. And what sin does is sin fractures reality. Sin fractures and cuts and rips reality from itself, okay? So the biggest sin of man is obviously the first sin of man. Okay? Now remember, why the reality didn't fracture when the devil sinned was because God didn't give his angelic creation the same thing that he gave mankind. God gave mankind dominion over earth and all the earthly realms and all the planets in the universe. Okay? And so when something that had dominion over it sins, it reverberates out into the entire universe. That's why. Okay, that's why it happened. That's why. So the sin is the one that causes the fracture in the reality, thereby creating a fracture, creating a split in reality, creating an alternate timeline, alternate dimension. Okay, creating an alternate timeline, creating an alternate dimension.
We have the creator of what is the world's first quantum computer in person here from Burnaby, BC.
So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. I'm not going to describe in any mathematical detail how it all works, but let me give you an analogy. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time, quote unquote. And I'm using those words because the English language was developed before we had concepts to describe what these things actually are doing. But I'm going to give you a roundabout way of understanding this. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there, and now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip, which is a contraction of quantum bit. And that qubit is very much like a bit or a transistor in a conventional computer. It has two distinct physical states, which we call 0 and 1 for bit. In a conventional computer, these are mutually exclusive. That device is either one or the other and never anything else. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to, until such time when you get to a chip like this, which is about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.
So, with that being said, now let's fast forward. Okay, let's fast forward to the 1930s. Okay, now we're fast forwarding now. So as sin has been going on, more and more timelines, as sin has been going on over quote unquote time, right? More and more timelines have been fractured and been created. Okay, in a copy dimension. Okay, so none of us are actually from the original timeline. We're not from the original timeline. This shit has been going on for however long before we were born into this place. Okay, so none of us were born on the original world that Adam and Eve were born on. We weren't. We weren't. Okay, we were not. Okay, we weren't. Okay, the timelines and the dimensions have been so fractured and there have been so many dimensions created that it's just fucked up. Like we weren't, okay, we weren't born. So what's going on is sin is creating these dimensions. Now, in addition to that, okay, what else is creating these dimensions, okay, is the process of traveling through time itself, okay? God didn't make people so that they could fucking travel through time and do fucked up shit to people. That's not why he created stuff. So the very act of traveling through time creates a fracture in the timeline and creates another alternate dimension. So every time somebody travels in time is equal to traveling to an alternate reality, an alternate universe. It's the same thing. Why? Because the very act of traveling through time is sinful. It creates a rip and a hole and a tear in the reality. And then as a person travels through that rip, tear, or hole, a copy dimension is created. Okay, now, the copy dimension should be a perfect, exact replica. However, because of the sin, things happen that God does not will to happen. Okay? That's not God's will. There's things that happen that aren't God's will. Like evil shit. So, because of the evils, the copy dimensions that are created by the act of time traveling do not match up the original timeline. And so every time that someone time travels, they're dimension hopping to an alternate reality that has differences because of the sin. The sin is introducing all of these differences between the dimensions. Okay? And then once time travel has happened often enough and enough of these dimensions are created, shit starts to get fucked up. Hence the Mandela Effect. Okay, hence all this fucking crazy shit that has changed. Okay, the logos and the name of the boat. Why did the name of the boat change? I'll tell you why the name of the boat changed. The name of the boat changed because people are engaging in extremely wicked, sinful, anti-God, anti-Christ activities, such as time traveling, such as like raping and murdering 1 billion babies every single fucking day, such as all that shit. Okay, all that shit is fracturing reality. The sin is fracturing the reality of everything. And so now, once reality is fractured enough changes and variations are introduced, okay, the reality is now starting to fucking get completely fucked up. Because that's what happened. That's the obvious conclusion. Like that is that is the logical conclusion to all of this shit. Okay, the logical conclusion is things like this will happen and they're gonna keep on happening. Now, okay, what's going on now is we are literally in the last days, we are literally in the end times, as has been prophesied by the prophets and Jesus himself and God himself and the Father and everybody has prophesied. The last days, the end of the world, the final age. That's it, the wrap up.